With a new year upon us, we start to think about all the things that we could have done the previous year and how we're going to change when it comes to the next year. And yet, by the end of January, sometimes a little bit into February, most of the goals that we set are completely blind to us. We forget about them and we just go, it's fine. I did enough. But we didn't. We didn't achieve the goals, and that's the problem that a lot of people face when they're looking at these New Year's resolutions. See, I have been so focused on productivity for the past decade of my life, trying to figure out the little tips and tricks that help get me to do the things that I know I want to do without having to give up halfway through the process. One of the things that I've really fell in love with, and this channel kind of has been based around, is that of gamification, turning life into a game, using psychology and different tricks that are used in video games and marketing that help trick you into doing things that they want you to do, except now we use them for ourselves. So with that in mind, I wanted to sit down and just talk about how I actually set out my goals for the next year, how I set up everything that I want to get done, create my quests that I'm going to be pursuing this year, and then show you how I break it down so I know exactly what I'm doing each and every day, so that I don't have to worry about the big picture things. I just have to sit down and do the things that are in front of me, that are easy, and feel like I'm actually accomplishing something every single day. So I'm going to jump over to Notion in my real-life RPG system. If you don't know what that is, there's a video link in the description, and go through how I actually start planning out my whole year. And hopefully I can help you start designing your year as well. So now we're jumped in. This is the real-life RPG system. Again, video link in the description if you want to check out what this is all about. But this is the system I use in order to gamify my life and help turn everything that I do into a video game of sorts, help find that extra motivation, and use gamified techniques to trick myself into doing the things I want to be doing. But when it comes to planning out my next year, there is always this case of, before I define the what, as in what I need to be doing, I need to first define the why. Figuring out why I'm doing something. What is the motivating factor behind it, and why am I trying to achieve it in the first place? Yes, it's all good and well to say, I want to go to the gym and get super fit, but am I doing it because the idea of getting fit is attractive to me? Is it that I want to be healthy so that I can live a longer life? Is it that I just want to have six-pack abs so that I can look attractive to other people? What is the core motivation behind it that is driving my actions forward? Because once I have that defined, I can really start going, okay, now that I know my why, I can really start working towards the exact result that I want. Additionally, when we're thinking about the actual things we want to achieve in the year, we go, oh, okay, I want to achieve this by the end of the year. And that's usually the wrong way to go about it. Because one of the things that helps us get to our goals is being able to break them down into like half a year, quarterly, month, week, day, hour by hour. And if we can get to that point where we know hour by hour what we're working on, there is no chance in hell that we will fail at achieving those goals, because we actually know, oh, I just need to follow the path that I've created. So what does this look like? Well, when I'm actually starting to define my quests, I'm going to go and create a new one. The idea being that I need to figure out, one, what I want to achieve and why I want to achieve it. So the quest for this one, I'm actually going to be doing as a simple Q1. So the first 3 months of the year, the first quarter of the year, this is going to be one of my quests. Because for a long time, I've wanted to be able to digitally sculpt things. You can't see it in this view, but I have 3D printers over here, and I love being able to take an idea, turn it into something physical, and then have that physical thing that makes me go, cool, I now have that. You can kind of see here, I have a love of painting miniatures and whatnot, and I just thought it would be really cool to be able to, once this community continues growing a little bit more, start offering like a statue or something like that for those who have really been part of this community for a long time and achieving their goals. Because I love the idea of being able to make these things, but also provide them in such a way to the community that has been supporting me and all this, to go, hey, thank you for all that you've been doing and helping me grow this. So that's the why behind why I want to do this. So the quest name for this thing is actually Learn to Digitally Sculpt. Now, I don't know what all this is going to be yet, and that's fine. I just know that is the quest, and I have a general idea as to why I want to do it. It doesn't need to be super detailed right now. I'm just kind of going through the motions of figuring it out. Now, is this a main or a side quest? I would say this is honestly probably a side quest. This isn't going to be the main focus of my life. There is other goals that I'm going to be trying to achieve. A lot of my main goals are going to be based around my business and growing this community so that it can be more of a full-time thing for me. But for now, learning to digitally sculpt is not directly contributing to that, but it is a side quest that will somehow come back into it. Now the due date, I'm going to go through, set it to the end of March. Again, first quarter, first 3 months of the year, that's what I'm going to be working on. When it comes to the color, let's go brown because I imagine clay, sculpting it, and I will upload an image in a second. So I'm going to create that quest. It's going to go through, and we should see it pop up here in a second, right here. Once done, we're going to go create tasks in this. And this is where we really start to think about the quest itself and how we can go about turning it into individual daily habits and tasks that will help move us towards that end goal. Now, if you've gone through the real-life RPG system, you already know that there's two main questions. One of which we kind of already answered, which is the what is the result? So the why are we doing this? And then, well, what is the clearly defined end goal? Because we have our why, and we know when it's due. But being able to define a very clear binary is it done state is so important when setting goals, quests, whatever you want to call them. If we can go, yes, it is officially done, then we know what we're working towards. I can say, oh, yeah, I want to work out. That's not really super defined. It gives me an idea of like, oh, I have to be doing something. If it's, okay, I want to be able to lift 100 kilos on the bench press. Now, I'm not a gym person. I don't know if that's hard or easy. It sounds hard. But when it comes to it, that is a clearly defined goal because you know if you've lifted 90, it doesn't count. If you've lifted 99, it doesn't count. If you've lifted 100, it is completed. So if we have that binary, clear stated line that we're trying to get towards, then we know it's completed. So when we start thinking about what the end goal for this one's going to be, it's going to be that I have made a digital sculpt from concept to physical print and finish. In 3 months, I think that is quite achievable. There's going to be different stages in which I'm going through the learning process, the defining the idea is process, the actual sculpting, then the printing. There's all of these aspects. But if I can go and learn the skills that can push me through that, I should be able to then create a sculpt and print it. That's a very clear line. If I've printed it and it's completed, yes, I did it. So putting it into words, the actual clearly defined end result for me is to have a physical sculpt that I have printed and can display alongside my other prints. But to get up on there, it has to be a representation of what I like and be proud to put on my shelf because it has an effort put into it and whatnot. So that is going to be the defined end result. And from that, I can start working backwards. So if I have 3 months, I can break that into 3 sections. The first month being learning the skills necessary. The second month being practicing those skills and refining the idea of the sculpt. And then the third month being actually making that sculpt, printing it, and finishing it. So I'm going to go through and make those as 3 separate tasks. Month 1, month 2, month 3. And by doing this, I can actually start then going, okay, if month 1 is based around learning the skills, well, I'll need to find somewhere to learn from. Now, I've already done that step. I have a whole set of courses that I'm going to be going through. But now I need to go through and actually define, okay, well, here are all of the different courses that I need to be going through. So in order to do that, just so it's a little bit easier for me, I'm going to open this up in full page. So now we're in full page, I can actually start figuring out the details of all this as well. So when it comes to month 1, that's going to be due at the end of January. When it comes to month 2, that's going to be due at the end of February. When it comes to making the sculpt, it's going to be due at the end of March. Learning is going to be an intelligence-based thing. Again, if this doesn't make sense to you, go back and watch the previous video that explains this whole system. But I have basic rules when it comes to the type of quests that I'm creating. So the first one, again, going to be an intelligence because I'm learning the things. Refining the skills is actually going to be a moxie task. So making sure that I am continually getting better at the same things. And then the making of the sculpt is also probably going to be a moxie task, but I would actually argue it's actually more of a perspective task because I know the skills, I've refined them, and it's being able to use them in a way that I can then understand how I can use them. It's all good and well to develop the skills, but being able to know where I can use those skills in regards to my goals is going to be an important part. So I have an intelligence-based section, a moxie-based section, and a perspective-based section. And because all of these are going to be the big results, they're all actually going to be 5s to me, because these are the most important aspects of this task. Now I can go through and I can actually start defining, okay, well, in month 1, what are the steps I'm going to be doing? So for me, I've already found a set of courses I'm going to be going through. I'm going to be going through them one by one, practicing the skills every single day. So for me, I'm actually going to be going like this. So course 1, which I've forgotten the name of at the moment, but I'll put it in later. So let's say I have course 1, Well, what are the things I'm going to be going through? Well, there's about 40 or 50 videos I'm going to be going through that will go into a lot of detail of how to sculpt this thing. And then once I have course 1, I'll have course 2, 3, and 4, I believe. So I have 4 courses overall. And that's going to be a lot of work. But in order to achieve them, I think one of the aspects I really need to do is making sure that I am practicing every single day. Spending half an hour to a couple of hours every day working on this skill in particular, because this is one that I want to make sure that does get done. And by breaking it down into those daily just sections, I can really start to, 1, check the progress that I have been making because I'm putting in the hours. But 2, I'm keeping accountable in the sense that if I miss a day, I then will personally start to add it to the next day. So if I miss one day, I have to do an hour the next day because I want to have a certain amount of hours that I've ticked off by the end of it all. So outside of the actual 3-month goals, one of the aspects I will be doing is a separate task, and it's going to be a repeating one. This is going to be the habit of this quest. I like to have every single quest have a core habit that gets done whatever amount of time is necessary. So for this one, it's going to be a daily practice, but when it comes to other things, it might be once a week, once a month, whatever it is. Having a habit that is continuous and repetitive. So what I'm going to do, that's going to be a Moxie thing, because it's just refining the thing. I think it's super important, so it's actually going to be a 4 for me. The due date is actually going to be today, and the reason why I'll do that is because we're actually going to make this a repeating task. So I'm going to set it today, set the repeating frequency to 1, but I'm going to actually allow myself a few days off. So I'm going to make sure that I still have weekends free to have a distance from that, because I find that when you are practicing a skill, having days away from it is actually a good practice because it gives you that distance to stop and think about what you're doing. You don't always have to be in the weeds. You can stop and go, okay, that's what I was doing. And now that I have that distance away from it, I can give myself time to think about how I've been doing it. Have I been doing it correctly? Can I apply it in a more effective way somewhere else? I'm going to be doing this as a weekday thing. Every weekday, spending half an hour. And this is going to be a repeating task that gives me XP based on my thing. Again, if you want to see that real life RPG system, there's a video link in the description. But now this is going to be a repeating task. So every single day, I have a practice sculpting aspect that I'm going to be doing for 30 minutes. And from there, it really is just going through and defining what each of these tasks is going to be. Obviously, the first one, going through those courses. Once I've gone through the courses, I'll know that the second part, what skills I need to refine in order to get better. And finally, when it comes to making the sculpt, at the end of February, I can go, okay, here is the sculpt I want to make. Here are all the steps I need to go through. Because right now, I don't know what those details are. All I know is that in month 1, I'm going to be learning everything I need to in order to continue moving forward. And that's a little thing I'd also like to preface when it comes to this. The reason why I also state that clearly defined end goal is so that at the end of the day, when I am working on something, it is working towards creating a result. It's not just playing around for the sake of it. It's not just, oh, theoretical, here I'm learning the skill that I will probably never use. By having an actual thing that I can work towards and start developing to create, I am more likely to be picking up on the skills necessary in order to achieve that goal. Now, there's probably aspects of sculpting that's going to be taught me in these videos that I'm not going to use, because at the end of the day, the skills there may not be what I need in order to make a digital sculpt that I can then print. Yes, it'll be interesting to know them, but it's not super impactful on actually achieving the goal I want to achieve. And then basically, once this is done, I go through and I create a couple of other ones for Q1. When it comes to these goals, only you know what you can achieve. And at the same time, you have no idea what you can achieve. We always overestimate what we can get done in a day, but severely underestimate what we can get done in a week, a month, a quarter, a half a year, a full year. And that only happens if we actually sit down now and take the time to go through and think about, well, what do I want to achieve? How can I get to that state? And what can I be doing every single day so that I can achieve the goals I want to achieve? Because so many of us go, I want to do this thing. I'll go on the weekend. I'll go do the gym on Tuesdays. And then you go once or twice and you're like, oh, I have to go pick up Sally. I can't go to the gym today. And then you skip that day. And then you go, I skipped last time. It was fine. I can do it again. And then it just kind of cascades. You fall out of love with the idea of the goal, and then it just falls to the wayside. Now, there is something to be said about giving yourself leniency. Yes, you're allowed to fail, but there's a rule that I found years ago, and I can't remember who did it, so if you ever find out who it is, please write in the comments below to remind me. But it's the rule of 2, where if you have a daily goal or habit, you can miss one day, but you cannot miss 2 in a row. The moment you miss 2 in a row, it's game over. So you don't miss 2 days in a row. You allow yourself to have one sort of mistake, But if you do it 2 times in a row, you need to reevaluate what you're trying to work towards, because that's not a goal that's important to you at that point. Refine it, figure out the why that's important to you at that point, and make sure that it is actually important to you. Don't be like, oh, I want to get 6-pack abs because that's what I want. No. Why do you want it? Is it because you think that you're going to die earlier if you're not healthy? That's a huge motivator. Is it that you're lonely and you want to be really attractive so you can go find people? Well, maybe the working out isn't actually the goal you're trying to set. Maybe it's that you need to be going out and being more social, finding yourself in social situations where you can achieve the goal you actually want. One of the big things about setting these goals each year is making sure that I'm working towards the goals that I want. And a lot of the times, they're not the first things I think of. Asking why out of every single goal that you want to achieve and figuring out what it is you're actually wanting and building the goals around that. Because that's only when you start to see the progress, because you find a deep motivation to achieve those things. And again, if you want to find more motivation after that fact, play around with real life RPG. That's what I've been doing. It's been helping me immensely, turning my life into a game and finding ways to motivate myself day in and day out to do the things that I know I want to do. And if that sounds like an interest to you, follow along. I'm going to be recording a lot more of these types of videos, sharing my insights to gamification, psychology, and how we can actually achieve the goals we want to be achieving using things like reframing life as a video game. Because that's what interests me. And that's how I know my brain works, and hopefully it's going to be helpful to you as well. So make this year that's coming up the best year of your life by actually dedicating yourself some time over these next few days to properly define what you want in life and how you can go through and strategically set up your life to make sure that you achieve them. Because once you start doing that, I can only imagine the goals that you can achieve. So hopefully, like me, you're going to start making the progress that you want to be making. And if you feel like you need accountability for this, come check out the Discord, because we have a bunch of people who are playing around with making their lives a video game and achieving the goals that they want to achieve. So if that sounds of interest to you, another link down in the description below. I want to take this final moment just to thank you all for joining along this journey and supporting me in it, because there was so many times that I've attempted to pursue a passion but felt empty inside. And it was only this year that I really started to click that embracing the nerdiness of turning my life into a game, an RPG, a video game, whatever phrasing you want to use, has really hit a chord with some people. And it's been so amazing to see other people going through this mentality and figuring out how to improve their lives the way that I want to improve it, which is creating systems that make it feel like a game. So thank you again for joining along this journey, and I cannot wait to share with you what I've got planned for 2025.